paradox of progress. That's the first thing that the Lord showed me in this text, is the paradox of progress. That the further that you go, the further that you see that you have to go. And that is why often progress in our own lives doesn't feel very fulfilling. Take, for instance, my tennis game. You know, I would take some lessons, hit it off the ball machine, hit it with my instructor, go out and beat Holly a little bit, give her the alleys, still whip her, don't even feel bad about it. That's what I do. And then go play somebody else who started playing, younger and got their strokes early and realized I hadn't learned anything. So I've retired from tennis like 10 times in the last couple of years. I keep quitting and coming back. Reason I keep coming back, I like my instructor. He's a good guy. And one of the reasons I like him, he comes to the church. Now, he didn't always come to the church. When I first started going out there, he didn't come to the church. He watched me on TV a little bit. And he said, I'm gonna come one day. I said, you keep saying that. And so when my Clemson Tigers beat his Georgia Bulldogs, just like my Clemson Tigers beat all of y'all this year, He lost a bet. He came to church. He hasn't left. And God's done a work in his life. His name is Robert. Robert's a good teacher because he knows when to push. I think I'm going to preach a sermon one day about knowing when to push. Wouldn't that be a good sermon for parenting even? And knowing when to push. And he's kind of good about that. And so he knows when to push and when to back off and all of that. But he said something recently to me about my frustration level that became a metaphor for life. And I didn't know that he was going to give me therapy on the tennis court. I'm getting 2 for 1. It's kind of efficient. But he stops the lesson one day after I'd done something stupid. And I yelled at myself. I always yell at myself. I do something stupid, make noises and all that. And he stopped the lesson. He goes, I've noticed something about you. You only make noise out here when you do something wrong. You don't ever open your mouth when you do something right. Even when I tell you good shot, you don't say anything back. You drop your head even after a good shot. He said, what's up with that? We gotta get you a fist pump so you can have a way when you make a shot. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not gonna be that guy. You know what I'm saying? That guy that acts like he won Wimbledon because he did good on his tennis lesson when his instructor put it in the right place so he could hit it. I am not gonna be that guy. So I told him, no, man, I'm not really into all that. I'm not Rafa. I'm not going out there like, it's in the US Open. But he said, you need to consider this, because if you don't learn how to celebrate your strengths, you can't address your weaknesses. Fast forward a couple weeks or months later, I was here at the church for a recital for our worship academy. We have a program to teach young kids music who have some talent and want to use their gifts for the Lord, who want to jam for the Lamb. I was playing with y'all. I came out because my kids are in it. And Graham rocked his song on the bass, rocked it on the bass, and I'm trying to teach him the bass is the real instrument of music. A lot of people underestimate the bass, but the bass is the pocket. So I got Graham on the bass, he's rocking it, he's 8, and Elijah is on the drums and learning some piano, and they both did great. I mean, I'm not biased. They both slayed it in their performance, rehearsal, worship, whatever it was called, recital. Afterward, I'm going somewhere with this. It's going to go back to 1 Samuel 14 in a minute about Saul and Jonathan and eventually connect to you. Because I was backstage telling Graham and Elijah how good they did. Now, I told Graham, you nailed it. Graham said, I know. That's how he is. That's Graham. Graham said, I know. I said, no, boy, you were amazing. He said, I know. That's Graham. His song a couple years ago was You Could Tell Everybody. You remember that song? You Could Tell Everybody, I'm the man. And since I'm the man rhymed with Graham, he had his own song. Pray for him. But that's Graham. Graham said, I know. Elijah on the other hand, I looked over at him and he was looking at a piece of paper which the instructors had given to each student. And at the top of the paper was all the accomplishments of that student that year and all of the strengths of that student that year. But he wasn't looking at that part. He skipped past that part, and he was down at the bottom, which was only about 20% of the page. There's 4 paragraphs of Elijah shows incredible potential in this area, and he has impressed me with his ability to. He wasn't reading any of that. He's down at the bottom of the page reading areas for improvement. And I went back to Robert that next week, and I said, I'm ready to learn how to celebrate my strengths, because I see it in my son. And if he's trained by example to always look at the bottom of the page for what he needs to work on before he gets fed from the top of the page by seeing what he did well, he will not be able to sustain his progress in life. But I said, Robert, I don't want to go over the top with this, man. I can't fist pump. I can't do all that. That's a little ridiculous. He said, all right, let's start here. Slap your leg. When you make a good shot, just on the way back to the line, slap your leg. So I've been doing it. Not just on the tennis court now. I walk around the house. Watch me while I preach. If y'all don't say amen, if y'all don't stand up, you watch me walk back to the pulpit. Slap your leg real quick, say good game. They put a song out this year, or I think it was this year. I think I found myself a cheerleader, but I need to announce to you, you can't wait for somebody else to cheer you on sometimes. Let me say it on this side. You can't wait till you fight. You better be your own cheerleader. The Bible says that David encouraged himself in the Lord. That was the difference between David and Saul. That's why David built a dynasty and Saul was sabotaged, because David encouraged himself in the Lord. Slap somebody, say, slap your leg. And Holly's been helping me. She's been telling me this for years, you know, so now she has a language for it. When I do something good, she'll say, slap your leg. And then I tell her, well, I'll slap my leg if you'll slap. And so, you know. Preacher's not allowed to have fun. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all ain't gonna take my honey. I'm gonna get something sweet every once in a while and praise him. Leave the church. I wish you would. But look, it's the paradox of progress. It's like the fact that Saul wanted to win so badly is what kept him from winning eventually. Look at it in the text. Come on, slap your leg one time. Just get in the rhythm. It says in verse 24, the Israelites were in distress that day. Everybody shout, that day. That day. They were in distress that day. But if you back up a verse before that to verse 23, which is before verse 24. It says, so on that day, everybody shout, that day. On that day, the Lord saved Israel and the battle moved on beyond Beth-aven. That day. Verse 24, that day they were in distress. Verse 23, that day God saved them. Which would make sense if they were different days. But those two verses are describing the same day. And verse 24 calls it a day of distress. And verse 23 calls it a day of deliverance. Let me ask you a question. Have you allowed the devil to turn your day of deliverance into a day of distress? That's what Saul did because of the paradox of progress. It said that day, everybody shout that day. The battle moved on, but it wasn't over. And so Saul made an oath. He said, until this battle is over, nobody's going to eat anything until the battle is over. And often that's how we come into a new year. Until I lose 50 pounds, I'm not going to eat anything other than chicken. I'm going to peel the skin off the chicken breast. I'm going to bust the yolk out of the egg whites until I lose 50 pounds, until I'm back down to my 13-year-old weight and waist size. I'm not eating anything. But I want to talk for a few moments today about the danger of deprivation. The danger of deprivation. Not the danger of discipline, but the danger of deprivation. Deprivation, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people call it different things. Let's call it deprivation today. Deprivation is often disguised as discipline. But anytime you define your resolutions and goals more by what you won't do than what you will do, you will always disrupt your development because of the danger of deprivation. I'm gonna help somebody today. I'm gonna set somebody free. I'm gonna let you see why you're in a weak state entering this year. It might not be because God didn't provide the strength. It may be because you refuse to eat the strength that He provided. And listen, I get Saul. He was driven. Some of you need a little bit more of Saul in your life. But I'm preaching now about what happened after the fact that Saul had a victory and the battle moved on, but the battle wasn't done. And so Saul made a decision to defer his celebration until he reached a place of perfection and thereby stopped his progress. It's the danger of deferring your gratitude, the danger of depriving yourself, the danger of only calling yourself an idiot when you miss the shot, but never telling yourself, good game, chief, when you make one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the message, just do 2 simple things before you go. Click the logo to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss a video. I promise I'll make it worth your while. And second, take a minute and share it with somebody who could use it, or just leave a comment. I love to hear how these videos are impacting you. It means a lot to me. Thanks again for watching.